On an autumn night in Seoul, October 26, 1979, the lights of the South Korean capital shone above the busy streets, while deep within the CIA compound, history was being turned upside down. Park Chung-hee, the man who had ruled South Korea with an iron fist for nearly 2 decades, sat at a private dinner table inside the intelligence headquarters. He was a stern military president who had lifted his country's economy from poverty to industrialization and prosperity. But he had done so at a heavy price, suppressing freedoms, silencing voices, and relentlessly persecuting dissidents. Next to him at the table sat his old friend and comrade Kim Jae-kyu, director of the Korean Central Intelligence Agency. The two men had exchanged loyalties for decades, but something was brewing in Kim's chest, a mixture of anger, frustration, and disappointment. He had come to see that Park, instead of leading Korea toward the promised democracy, had plunged it deeper into tyranny and bloodshed. The final banquet, the guests exchanged toasts, and nervous laughter filled the air. Park, with his usual sternness, spoke of internal threats and the need to crush the student opposition that had risen up to protest against his rule. His words were like a dagger to the chest of Kim Jae-kyu, who was oscillating between old loyalty and a sense of duty to the nation's future. Then, amid the heavy monotony of the evening, Kim made his decision. He stood up, headed to an adjacent room where his pistol awaited him, and returned with cool steps. He looked at Park for a long time, the look of a man worn down by years and secrets, and then fired. The sound of the gun echoed through the dining room, and the president fell, having never imagined that his closest man would be his assassin. After the shot, Park Chung-hee died in a flash, but all of South Korea was shaken. The country was divided between those who saw him as the architect of economic renaissance and those who saw him as a power-hungry tyrant. Kim Jae-kyu, however, believed he had saved Korea from tyranny, but his fate was different: a swift trial and, less than a year later, the gallows. The bullet's legacy. Park's assassination did not immediately open the door to democracy. Rather, it plunged the country into a cycle of unrest and military coups, until the people rose up in the 1980s to forge a more liberal regime. Nevertheless, that night remains etched in the memory of Koreans: one banquet, one gun, and two men brought together by power and separated by a bullet.